Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day so far. I've got a good one for you today. Looks like the Bloc Quebecois are coming out and giving their ultimatum for the Liberal government to keep him in power. And let me tell you, it does not look like they're messing around. Quick one. If you like this stuff, please like and subscribe. Now, with no further ado, let's get into it.
L'élu du Québec et du Canada a voté en faveur de la motion du Bloc québécois, enjoignant le gouvernement.
Oh, quickly first, I'm gonna do a kind of caption part of this because a little bit of it's gonna be mostly French during his speech. So we'll do that, and then during all the questions, a lot of it's in English, so we'll switch back over to that.
D'accorder la recommandation royale au projet de loi C-319 qui corrigerait une iniquité à l'encontre de jusqu'à 4 millions de retraités au Canada, jusqu'à 1 million de retraités au Québec. Le gouvernement s'est avéré incapable de faire preuve de leadership, d'une part, dans la façon dont il a géré le vote de ses élus, et il s'est avéré incapable de prendre une position claire en inventant l'argument procédural, alors que si la motion n'avait pas été recevable, la présidence ne l'aurait pas reçue. Non seulement elle a été reçue, mais elle a été adoptée. Le gouvernement devrait donc donner suite et accorder la recommandation royale à C-319 avant que, par un autre vote, nous ne l'envoyions au Sénat, qui pourrait nous la retourner dans les délais pour que la mise en œuvre soit garantie avant la date butoir du 29 octobre.
So I think what he's talking about here is Bill's 213. I believe that's what it said on there, which was the retiree old age pension plan. So where oh no, it's 316, sorry. And so from retirees from 65 to 74 would get paid the same as a retiree 75 and over. The issue here is that would cost taxpayers an additional $3 billion, which I think is the first issue that the Liberals are having with it, because they spent all of our money on frivolous things, like flight to France that probably didn't need to be taken, but that's just me. The Bloc Quebecois want this pushed through because they know, and they want this Crown recommendation right away because they know that a conservative government is coming, and there's a possibility of a Christmas election, and if that happens, then everything gets paused, everything gets shelved, their bill gets shelved, and then once the Conservatives get in, they'll have to reproduce this motion again to a Conservative almost supermajority, and then it most likely won't get passed because the Bloc Quebecois won't have any power to do it, and we don't have the money. So I think that's why they're getting all of these deadlines.
Voilà.
Vous attendez quoi maintenant? Donc là, c'était un non, comme vous dites, un peu pour des raisons de procédure, on ne veut pas créer un précédent, etc. Est-ce que vous avez des garanties que ça va être présenté dans un énoncé économique ou dans un projet de loi du gouvernement?
D'abord, le présenter dans un énoncé économique, voyez bien les commentaires, mais grotesques du ministre McKinnon hier par rapport au vote puis au complot entre les conservateurs puis les séparatistes avec 3S, puis on était de retour à l'époque de M. Chrétien près du référendum, là. Et là, le Bloc a voté contre ramener l'âge de la retraite à 65 ans. C'est que c'était dans des billes qui contenaient plein d'autres choses. Il n'y a jamais eu Jamais eu de vote spécifique sur ramener l'âge de la retraite à 65 ans. Il n'y a jamais eu de vote spécifique sur la bonification du SRG. Ça, c'est d'induire les gens en erreur, là. Je veux que le gouvernement se ressaisisse un peu. D'abord parce qu'un gouvernement qui est minoritaire et qui est menacé, un gouvernement qui est sur le bord du précipice et qui avance un pied, tu dis, OK, vous avez un sacré problème de leadership, là. Il faut donner une réponse claire à l'attention de potentiellement 4 millions de personnes qui attendent cette réponse-là de la part du gouvernement. Non. Il y a eu, pas vous autres, mais dans les commentateurs, tout ça, là, il y a des gens qui ont donné des interprétations au mieux inexactes à beaucoup de choses qui se passent dans le Parlement. Le gouvernement n'a pas permis aux membres du Conseil des ministres de voter en faveur de la motion qui demandait la recommandation royale, laquelle motion n'aurait pas été contraignante. À partir du moment où elle n'est pas contraignante, bien, on veut avoir la volonté du Parlement, et on a la volonté du Parlement. Le Parlement a dit, nous voulons que vous accordiez la recommandation royale. Il ne peut pas faire comme si ça ne s'était pas produit, mais il n'est pas obligé. Mais plutôt que de dire, c'est parce qu'on est contre, et on dit, ouais, c'est procédural, puis on a voulu faire un vote libre. Et plutôt que de faire preuve de leadership et de clarté, ils tergiversent dans l'espoir de gagner du temps. Si leur impression, c'est qu'en gagnant du temps, ils vont dépasser le 29 octobre, ils se trompent grossièrement.
I think that's what the Bloc is also worried about, is the Liberals are just trying to do the same thing they did to the NDP, to the Bloc, is hold off making a decision for so long, but get the Bloc's vote for so long just until that they're out of power so they don't have to do anything. And the Bloc's like, no, that's not gonna happen. We want this now.
Mais c'est ça la question. Maintenant qu'ils ont voté contre, c'est ça la question. Vous faites quoi maintenant? Vous attendez quand même le 29 octobre d'avoir peut-être une possible indication que?
C'est fun des fois formuler des questions. J'ai dit clairement, je pense que vous étiez là, que le gouvernement avait jusqu'au 29 octobre pour assurer la mise en œuvre de 2 projets de loi. Et que n'importe quand dans l'intervalle, lorsque ça devient impossible, on va entreprendre des discussions pour que soit renversé le gouvernement. Mais ce n'est pas du tout impossible. Le gouvernement a jusqu'à la semaine de relâche pour donner la recommandation royale. C'est encore totalement possible. Et ils n'ont pas dit qu'ils ne voulaient pas le faire. Ils ont dit qu'ils ne le faisaient pas pour des questions de procédure, puis on va laisser les gens faire un vote libre avec toute la mollesse de cette célèbre colonne du premier ministre. Mais ils n'ont pas dit que c'était impossible. Et moi, j'ai dit que ça allait être quand ça allait être impossible. On n'en est pas rendu là, même si je vous concéderai facilement que c'est pas bon signe, que le niveau d'alerte électorale monte un petit peu. Il y a des gens qui vont commencer à faire cliquer des caméras, puis il y a des gens qui vont commencer à magasiner le prix des pancartes, parce que ce gouvernement-là n'a pas l'air de vouloir s'éloigner du précipice électoral. Why is there so many English people here?
You gotta love the Bloc. Okay, I don't like the Bloc Party because they are a separatist party and all of that, but you gotta love this guy who he's a very good politician. He's very shrewd, but he does well to his constituents, and it would be awesome if this guy was a conservative because he speaks very well, and when you hear him in English, it is awesome the way he articulates, and he's a really good leader because he's not like Jake Meat who flip-flops on every little thing, and then when his bill comes along, like pharmacare, and the Liberals like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you pharmacare. Here's 2 types of prescription drugs, and that's your Medicare right there. And then they just accept what it is. The Bloc doesn't do that. It doesn't mess around. It's like, no, you're giving us everything we want by this date, or we start going to the other parties and talking with them, even when it's the detriment to their own party, which you gotta admire.
Okay.
Mr. Blanchet, why are you still willing to work with the Liberal government when they voted down this motion? Is that not sending a signal of some sort?
Okay, let's understand things as they are. The government, I will learn that word one day, did not have the spine to provide us and Canadians and Quebecers with a clear answer. First, the Parliament voted clearly in favor of the motion. Then the government said that the ministers could not vote in favor of the motion, but that this vote would be free for other members of Parliament affiliated with the Liberals. And then they said that's because it's a procedure thing that prevented them from making a clear decision. So they just want to get some more time and to keep not deciding about anything. They might hope that they will go further than October 29th. They will not. So they have until a few days from now to go on with the royal recommendation. And if they do not, we will start as rapidly as next week to speak with other oppositions in order to get ready to go into an election. And I will tell you both in English and French that it is noticeable that the NDP voted in favor of this motion and that they could have eventually to assume the consequences of such a vote if we get to the next step without the government providing us and Canadians and Quebecers with what we want. Et ça, je vais vous le dire en français.
And I love how he ended it there, because that pretty much puts the NDP on the spot for the Quebec vote during the election. Because from what I gather with that, he's saying that the NDP voted for this pension plan bill. So if they don't... if the Liberals don't give it royal ascension and the NDP still back the Liberals to keep them in power, because remember, like, even with all the Conservatives and all the Bloc Quebecois, we still need a couple of NDP MPs for this vote of no confidence. And he's saying if they don't vote no confidence, then that means they're not for the Quebec people. And the only party for the Quebec people now is the Bloc Quebecois. So he's thinking like 3 steps ahead. He's not just like Jagmeet Singh and thinking in the moment. He's already at the election stage of thought. So now, because the Liberals are already pretty much decimated in a lot of the polls in Quebec, it's in between the NDP and the Bloc Quebecois. He can just, I think his name's Blanchet, can just come out and say, well, just look at the NDP right now. They voted for a bill to go through for old age pensioners. And then when the Liberals didn't want to push it through, the NDP agreed with the Liberals not to push it through. And the Bloc Quebecois were the only ones voting to get you this money. So the only party for the Quebec people is the Bloc. And that's a perfect move. And I think the NDP might just be checked on this.
Clarify in English.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
The October 29th deadline is still in effect. I just
Combien
wanted
de
to clarify.
questions on pose chaque? Allez-y.
I just want to clarify in English. The October 29th deadline is still in effect. You're still giving the Liberals time to, give the royal recommendation
What
despite
I
the
said
vote today.
at the very beginning of this is if the Liberals do not give us what we demand on behalf of 4 million Canadians and 1 million Quebecers and supply management, we will start discussing with opposition in order to have this government fall. If in the meantime it becomes clear that it is impossible to achieve that, we will start those discussions. But what we saw today is not by itself a proof that it's impossible. They could decide, notwithstanding the motion, to give the royal recommendation to C31 mine. It's still possible. So let's be fair with our commitment, even if it's quite clear that it's not good news and that electoral alert is a bit higher and people should start taking pictures.
Oh, how he's even telling the politicians to start taking their pictures for an election coming up if Liberals don't start coming out with whether or not they're going to introduce this bill, or I mean give it royal assent. And remember, this video is sort of old. It's from last Thursday, I believe. So yeah, and Trudeau's in France right now, and we haven't heard a peep out of him. So tomorrow is going to be an interesting day in Parliament.
Because several cabinet ministers have come out and said this is bad policy. It's cabinet that has to give the royal recommendation. Are you being honest with yourself about the chances of the bill actually passing?
Yes, I am. And I think I'm even honest with you. I'm not certain at all that this bill will pass. Not certain at all. But I said we will give this government one chance to do something right for many Quebecers and many Canadians. If they do not seize the opportunity, then the most probable scenario will go forward. We will start discussing in order to have an election and compose a new parliament. Many things may happen. Nobody says that the NDP will not start supporting the government again. We don't know that. The Prime Minister might decide to prorogue the Parliament. He might even have a blip of leadership and decide to go into election himself. So the chances that our bills are really adopted and implemented are not so good, but I keep fighting in order to have this done because that's the right thing to do. You know, the numbers being what they are, we might want to go into election also, but we do want to get something to those people between 65 and 74 years old and to producer under supply management.
Wow, so not even the Bloc thinks this is going to go through, which makes sense because like I said, Trudeau's not around. He's in France doing who knows what while we're in kind of turmoil. Well, his government's in turmoil here. It's most likely not going to go through. I agree with him, and he's not a dummy. He knows that Canada's in financial stress and that the Liberals don't have the budget to spend an extra $3 billion. And I extremely like how Blanchette is saying this is not just for Quebecers, this is for all Canadians. Because a lot of times when Canadians hear a bill from the Bloc Québécois, their brain immediately just goes off right there, and they just roll their eyes and be like, oh, of course the Separatist Party put something through. I'm not even going to listen anymore. So when he says that this is an old age plan and it's going to help 3 million more Canadians, that kind of perks everybody's ears up. And that means, this will even help the conservative parties in Canada because it'll give them more ammunition to use against the NDP once this goes to an election, if the NDP votes with the Liberals. So the NDP would be smart to do a vote of no confidence as soon as possible, but who knows if they're going to do that.
Are you surprised you got Conservatives to support you? Are you surprised you got Conservatives to support you? Do you now expect them to go for top-up pensions?
I must say two things. First, they supported this bill before, so they were simply coherent, and they have a slight tendency to vote against the government. So maybe they expected that the government would vote the way they did, and they supported our motion, and that's something good. And it even proves that sometimes the Conservatives vote with the Bloc without this being a conspiracy between Conservatives and the Bloc, and something terrible that happened. The government suggested that the association and organizations that came to support our motion yesterday and the bill C-319 were part of this conspiracy or naive, which is not a very nice thing to do.
And it's crazy why the Liberals would say that there's a conspiracy between the Bloc and the Conservatives. When I lived out east, what I heard from everybody is nobody really knows what the Bloc Party really, like, if they're more left-leaning, if they're more right-leaning. Like, nobody says that they're more conservatives. They're just kind of an alternate party there. So, of course, they're going to be the party who goes around and kind of talks to other parties to see what they can get out of different scenarios, because they're not liberal, they're not conservative, they're not far left NDP, they're just for Quebec, which, I mean, it would be awesome if they were the For Canada party, but even so, it's, I don't want to I hesitate to say it's a good because it's not a good thing that there's just a For Quebec party, but it's really admirable that their MPs don't just vote for or against conservatives or liberals. They vote for their constituents, if that makes sense. It's really hard to put it into words when you're speaking about a separatist or a separatist party that's only for one province. It's really hard to give them positive reviews.
Support for seniors, not OAS, but maybe the GIS. Is that something you're open to?
I'm not sure. Please go in.
Instead of boosting OAS, are you open to other forms of support for seniors, such as boosting the GIS?
No, nothing at all. We were quite precise. We said at the very beginning of this that this is our position, this is our demands, and it will not change. Either they implement both bills before October 29th, or we start discussing with other oppositions in order to have this government fall. I believe that many Canadians and most Quebecers do not want an election soon, but would understand that this is where we are now.
And that's when they kind of lost the plot, because many Canadians want it now. They don't want to wait until after winter. And that's because once we get a conservative government, they'll immediately cut the carbon tax. And then we won't have to worry about this, a crazy high bill over the winter. But that's just me.
Is this a non-confidence motion, given all the support you
No,
got
because
today?
the purpose is to make some gains. Merci beaucoup.
And that's what I really like about the Bloc Québécois party. And don't get me wrong, I want to reiterate this again. I don't like them as a party, but they are very direct and very, this is what we want. We're not going to waver. Give us this, or we're talking to other people. Unlike the NDP that randomly just end their supply and confidence agreement out of nowhere and then just vote in confidence of the government out of the goodness of their own heart. and are incredibly flip-floppy. But what do you guys think about the Bloc Quebecois? Leave your comments in the comment section down below. Do you like them? Do you not like them? Do you kind of hate like them? I don't know if that's a word. Or are you more like me? You don't particularly like a separatist country or company. Speak, man. You don't really like a separatist party, but the way that they act for their constituents is good. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, if you could leave a like and subscribe, that would be awesome. And if you want to donate to the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link down below, and you can go to that. Everything that's donated goes back to the channel to make better videos, and everything's appreciated. Other than that, have a good day.